what a weekend. Oh, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little tired still. You know, it's inevitable. You go to those fiestas tradicionales of any pueblo in Mexico, and it's gonna be one hell of a time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. It was a pretty good weekend, all things said and told, though.
Did you have a good time?
Yeah. Yeah, I got to visit with some friends I don't get to see too often yesterday, and there's a place called the Nantahala Outdoor Center that's like right on the Appalachian Trail. It's kind of a cool little spot.
Say that again. Appalachian. Say it again.
Appalachian.
Oh, kind of sounds cool when you say it.
Yeah. It's a cool little spot over there. There's like the Nantahala River over there, and folks are doing rafting, and there's kind of like a spot where you can sit and like have dinner and watch the rafters come down the final rapid there.
Do you ever get into that?
I did when I was younger. Like a lot of my friends that I was hiking with and that kind of thing, like they got way into it. Like I like to go rafting, but they got into kayaking, and I'm not really built for kayaking. I did try it, but
man, I'm not gonna lie. Like, oh, you know what? Why don't we get this intro going? Let's pop that off, and then we can get right back into the kayaking chat. Welcome, listeners, gamers, non-gamers, PvEers, PvPers, and even NPCs. ChukTomahawk and myself, Ovox, we do not discriminate. Yeah. We're happy to have you all here. Wouldn't you say, Chuck T?
Very happy.
Yeah, I'm happy too. I think we're having a good time with this. Episode 2, thank you for joining us. I'll keep it real short and sexy. We like to talk about old gaming stuff and then tie it into new gaming stuff and the contrast there, how the things kind of link and how one evolved into the other. And in our first episode, we talked about a topic that Chuck T, that is ChukTomahawk, was very interested in talking about, the Intellivision. That was a good episode, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it was fun to go back and revisit that.
Yeah. You know, I actually showed my folks a picture of that thing yesterday. We were having dinner. And they're like, what the hell? I don't remember this thing. It didn't catch their, but they're not into gaming in it at all. But they were kind of interested to see what that device looked like, if it was 1979. But they didn't really, didn't recognize it.
Yeah. I did thank my mom for buying me one, and I did go back to the closet and look where I thought it might be. And on that shelf where I thought it was, my mom had taken that out and put in a new bar so she could hang clothes there. And I had no recollection of said baseball cards or Intellivision's whereabouts. But
he's like, Mom, you're just doing what mom should do. You needed it. That's supposed to happen at some point.
Pushing the little birdie out of the nest, I guess.
You gotta leave so that you can come home, son.
Yeah.
You gotta leave so that you can come home. That's what my grandma always says.
Yeah.
Get out of here so you can come back. It's good advice.
That's a good way. That is a good vibe.
Kind of good, So yeah, we like to talk about old and new stuff in the world of gaming. There might be a little bit of society, culture, marketing in there. Chuck T and myself, we've been gaming for quite some years, so we've seen a few platforms come out. We've seen a few platforms succeed and a few fail, and we're just here happy to talk about those things. We'll leave timestamps one timestamp in the notes for this episode so that you can skip all of our jibber jabber if you'd like and move right on to the main topic. But usually we like to BS a little bit, chit chat before we get into it. So in that light, in that essence, I think we were talking about kayaks.
Yeah. Have you ever tried kayaking?
I haven't. In fact, now that I really think about it, Chuck D, I don't even know if I've ever been in one. And one of the things that freaks me out, and that I got to say I got a lot of props for the people that do kayaking is, how in the hell do they flip that thing back over when they go upside downward?
The combat roll, they call it.
Combat crazy. That scared the crap out of me. I'd freak out.
You're supposed to relax your body, kind of get the paddle sort of in line with the boat, and then use it almost like you're using a lever, like a crowbar of sorts, to kind of flip yourself over. But yeah. My first mission was get the hell out of that boat. It's kind of like a drowning machine to me. There's so much of my body that above the water, you've got to be fairly slim to be in that thing. And you know, I'm not saying there's not one for everybody. Like a sit on top or like inflatable kayak is probably more my speed. But dude,
the
my
tradition,
buddies, like they took it to the limit though. They started. They got rid of the paddles eventually, and they had these big things on their hands, like these hand paddles, and they would do something called, they would get these super low volume boats, and they would do something called the mystery move, where they actually would go underwater for quite some time. Like, yeah.
What do they do underwater, man?
Disappear, and like you stand on the bank and go, holy shit, where did he go?
Wait,
like,
what did they call that thing again? The mystery
move, and like they've got to kind of keep themselves spinning. That's
sounds kind of nasty.
That's what keeps them underwater. But dude, I'm talking 30, 40 yards down the river. My buddy Julian, like, was one of the best that I think I've ever seen. There's kind of a spot there on the Nolichucky River in Tennessee where you can like go right down from the outfitters there where you rent boats and stuff like that, and watch this like go down at the first rapid. There's like a neat little spot that's like, you know, good for it. But yeah, the kayaking wasn't really my jam, so yeah, I'll do a little bit like a whitewater raft every now and then. I did that with my dad like back in the day. We went to a football game and went down to the Ocoee River where they had the Olympics there and did like a big whitewater rafting trip.
Was he in there busting out that mystery move? Watch this, son. I don't know about this mystery move, man. Sounds like a code name for people that are probably mining something off the bottom of a river and be like, oh, I'm upside down. In the meantime, they're down there grabbing shit off the...
We call them river hippies. Like.
River hippies. Oh, man. Okay. Hey, did you hear about the changes PlayStation's coming out with? I think I mentioned, we were kind of chatting about them. Looks like some pretty interesting changes coming for the PlayStation Plus community, dropping out in the summertime.
Yeah, I think that'll be cool. I think going back and visiting some of those games will be cool. Like
that's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah, there's some stuff out there. I was thinking of a game just the other night. That 720 game, the skateboard game. I think has got to be in there somewhere that I want to go back and see. And hopefully, I can't remember Battletoads ever being on the PlayStation. Like any retro thing I get, that's like the first thing I look for is another Battletoads game.
Yeah, I think it's when you think retro games, Battletoad, Metroid, Contra. It depends on how retro you go back, but there's a lot of pinnacle games or like chapters in retro gaming where the certain games stand out. I know we're going to be talking about a few of them today. But that PlayStation Plus update coming up looks pretty cool. In fact, let me pull this up real quick. I had it here on my old telephone device.
I think I'm going to go top shelf.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, ChukTomahawk is going to go for the PlayStation Plus Premium, which is going to provide him all of the benefits from the Essential and Extra tiers, plus up to 340 additional games, including PS3. Oh, wait. Is that the right one? Yes, including PS3 and PS2 titles. Mm-hmm. So you're going to be getting into those old school retro games.
What's that going to set me back a month? $24.99, I think, maybe.
I think it goes up to $110 a year.
Uh-huh.
And don't quote me on that. I'm kind of in fact, if for the listeners, if you want to watch just a real dope video that'll just summarize it all for you, there's a Game Ranks video you can find. Just type in Game Ranks PlayStation Plus changes or something like that. It'll come up.
Yeah. I'm in that situation where I'm a child with adult money, so that's exactly where it's gonna go. So it's like,
Splinter Cell, Tony Hawk 2, Tony Hawk 1. Yeah. God, count me in. Yeah. 720.
That's exactly right.
Man.
It's like call DoorDash and don't cook dinner, no problem.
So I got to bring this up real quick before we get into the first block. And man, yesterday was challenging, Chuck T. Ladies and gentlemen, Chuck T and I yesterday, we were on late when we shouldn't have been playing Ark. It's kind of our game right now that we've been enjoying the crap out of. You're going to hear it every now and then. We're going to try not to talk about it too much, but it's going to be hard. And in this game, in a nutshell, it's a survival game. And part of the survival mechanics is you can tame dinosaurs. and a couple of mythological creatures and whatnot. But so Chuck T, also known as Brick Shithouse, was flying around Crystal Isles, and I'm back at base, just making some ammunition for our turrets, and the message comes through: Ovox, level 174, tech. What was it? Tech Quetzal. Yeah, man. And see, that's one of those things. That's one of those moments where you basically just have to stop and drop what you're doing and attend that, because it's a very important creature in the game. So with that, what happened after that, Chuck T?
Well, yeah, and it's going to go away. If we don't go get it, someone else will, or it could die, or
someone else will get it.
Some nefarious end for it. So yeah, we had to get in there and do that. And one of the game changers I feel like in Arc lately has been that net. So the net that we can shoot, to kind of trap them with, like kind of bola style.
Yeah.
There and. Yeah, so we got into that, and those have been real expensive on this particular version of the Surge.
No, but I mean, we eventually got past that part, and it was just a struggle, man, because you basically have to shoot this thing out of the sky, and it's extremely high level. And not to get into it too deep, but it was just what we thought was going to be a quick 20-minute little adventure on Crystal Isles turned out to be probably about an hour, hour and 30. And while all the while we're thinking, we got to record a damn podcast in the morning eventually.
Yeah. On the one hand, it's good content, and on the other hand, it's like cutting into the sleep that we're going to get. But I'm happy that it's there at base right now, and I'm excited to see where it goes. It certainly wasn't easy, but I think last time that I tamed one, I had biotoxin, now that I think about it. So it probably did go a ton faster, and probably had an ascendant long rifle. So we were doing it with some pretty primitive tools there. Something I was
towards
noticing.
the end, crossbows and
I swear
trank
crossbows
arrows.
so much faster though. I think it's like three times the, like a trank dart, I think gives you is the equivalent of 3 trank arrows, but I think I can shoot 3 trank arrows in the time I can shoot one dart. It takes that dart forever to reload.
Yeah, you're right. I noticed that yesterday when you started pumping them with the arrows. I was like, gosh, he's getting like an arrow out every 2 seconds.
Dude, I was getting them out so fast, I thought you were shooting. I really did.
Ovox is trying to play a tapejara.
You kind of said, all right, enough of this. And then that started happening, and I was like, is this all me? Like I just basically had the fire button held, and I was just like reloading as fast as it would reload. And yeah, I think that was when we were both just like, we're going to make something happen. If this thing goes in the water, it's just going to go there.
Yeah, fuck it. But there was a point I was like, what? I was like, hell with this, man. If he goes down in the water and drowns to death, I don't care. As long as we get completion in one regard or another.
Yeah, because you don't want to just walk away or anything like that. But yeah, man, I felt like it went really well. And there was that moment when that damn scorpion came up there. You didn't see it, but I really thought it got damaged, and I just didn't have the heart to tell you. I was just like,
well, I remember I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go get my dragon real quick. Keep an eye out for scorpions.
That's the last word she said, and I'm over there like my thumb in my ass, like just
doing a little butt mining.
I look over, and there's a scorpion coming for it,
full speed.
I kind of just get between it and the tame, and I need to bite to kill it, but I feel like I'm too close to the tame too, and I just don't know what to do, and I'm like. I finally chose bite, and thank God it worked out. Thank God it was up in the air like that.
Yeah, I thought about that because at first I was like, no, this is going to be an issue. And it kind of was, but it ultimately was a good thing because that scorpion didn't get any bites in. Which
I had lived that once already, so I kind of had that thought in my mind. But I could see your point too. Like we don't have a ton of time to get that done, and we're kind of struggling to get up there and get the kibble on him, but man, it worked out. It's like all sins are forgiven at that point. Like when you're back, and yeah. So yeah,
and then we got back to base. We get back to base, and it seemed like Mick, one of our tribe mates, Mick was like ready to go. He wanted to keep doing stuff, and we kind of just pulled up. Hey man, Quetzal in the fridge. We're out.
I know. I know.
100% taming effectiveness.
It is tough being on different schedules sometimes. Like it's really,
yeah, man. You over there, you up in that
country.
Yeah, up in that Tennessee. You're 2 hours ahead of me.
Yeah, we're holding it down.
It actually works out. Yeah, man. You know Theo Vaughn. He lives over there in Tennessee. God, that guy's funny, man.
He's down in Nashville. Is what I was gathering from that last podcast.
Yeah.
So,
man.
Dude, Nashville's a cool ass city, man. We got to hang out there sometime.
I'm gonna visit you one of these days. I promise.
Yeah.
We'll do an episode together.
Dude, the hockey game in Nashville. Like I went, I guess a year and a half ago, right pre-pandemic, and it was one of the funnest nights of my life. Super fun time. Hockey is like, it's like you don't have to watch so close, sort of, and there's fights. Like, you know, it's really all I need. There's a bar. Like,
wait, there's a bar on the hockey court
in the stadium. like yeah, there is a bar. It's like it's on.
Guys lining up a shot. Hey, can I get a Corona?
It just kind of has this really cool atmosphere, and they'll bring out like country music stars to do the national anthem. Like that's kind of became a big deal. Like when the Predators were in the playoffs, there, I mean, they were having like top shelf type stars come out and do the national anthem. So
like some Luke Combs or something like that. Come on.
I forget who all it was. I want to say Mariah Lambert or something. I don't know those stars like super
it's all
well,
good.
But yeah, Theo's down there holding it down in Nashville. So.
God, his podcast is funny, man. I just started listening to it again. Literally yesterday, actually, to be honest with you. He's got that podcast with Brendan Schaub. It's hilarious. Check it out, everyone. Yeah. The King, the Sting, and the Wing. Pretty funny. You want to get into this, man? What are we at? We're at 16 minutes. We should, let's, listeners, gamers, non-gamers, PvEers, PvPers, and NPCers, we're going to talk about cheat codes today. I should have mentioned that at the top, what we were going to be getting into, but hell, I'll drop it now. We're going to talk about cheat codes, the history of cheat codes, and where cheat codes are at today. Should be an interesting topic to jump into. Any beginning comments, Chuck T? Otherwise, I'm going to ask if I can put you on the spot.
I hate cheaters. That's my comment. So if you're here for that information for their nefarious purposes, shame on you.
Yeah, you notice we didn't include cheaters. We don't discriminate, but we didn't happen to directly include cheaters in our intro quip.
Yeah, because we all know the reason my KD is so low in Warzone is those darn cheaters. Like, it's nothing to do with me, I'm sure.
It had nothing to do with game skill.
Yeah. Every time I'm like on a killing spree, and kill streak, and next thing you know, cheater takes me out. Like, every time.
Man, it happens. It happens, and since you got that cross-platform, with and I think we're both talking about Warzone. I think, or you're talking about Warzone, because we get some Warzone in when we're not playing that arc, and I think Chuck T also plays a couple of other battle royales every now and then. But yeah, I think with these cross-platform games, and just for some initial cheat code comments, these today cross-platform games are notoriously, infected with cheaters.
Yeah.
See, anything from PUBG, CS:GO, Warzone, even Fortnite at the top competitive levels have had, these cheaters that use sophisticated software programs for things like what I think they're called, like aimbot, wall peak or something like that. I don't know the names because we're not in there cheating ourselves, but affecting your KD.
It is, man. It's just drove it. It's sub 1 at this point. Like, I think if it was rounded off, it'd just pretty much be 0.
The struggles are real.
Still swinging away out there, but no, man. Put me on the spot. I got the cheat code knowledge.
Oh shit! All right, I'm gonna keep it real simple. This is something I don't think we actually included in our brief for this episode. But what is a cheat code? Plain and simple.
What is a cheat code?
Yeah, and I got the answer here, so I'm gonna know if you're cheating on this answer. No
My
pun
mind kind of
intended.
goes two places in that. Like I think of the series of buttons that I would push. That's the code, and then I also think more of like in a programming sense, the actual code behind the game, like the language that it's in. But
Yeah.
if I was just going to throw out a down and dirty simple answer, it's a series of commands that you push to affect a change in the game. Most likely a positive change, as in the number of lives you have, or beating a boss, or some sort of loot that enables you to do something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I read a quick little excerpt from the very reliable Wikipedia here, it basically just says video game players using various methods to create an advantage beyond normal gameplay, usually in order to make the game easier, just like you said.
Yeah.
Cheats may be activated from within the game itself, a cheat code implemented by the original game developer, or created by third-party software, like a game trainer or debugger, or hardware, like a cheat cartridge. They can also be realized by exploiting software bugs. This may or may not be considered cheating, this last one, based on whether the bug is considered common knowledge or not. So, yeah. And gosh, if we go back, how long have cheat codes been around? I mean, I think it's fair to say they've probably been around since the conception of video games.
Day one, it feels like. Yeah. The history of video games and the history of cheat codes are one and the same. I think they kind of parallel, move forward in time there. You got, I think right from the beginning, they had to have a way to be able to sort of jump around in the game and test it.
Precisely.
Which, yeah. So that got the ball rolling, and I think just that being in the know, like having the goods, like the information, is always been like something that appealed to folks that were into computers there in the beginning, and then I think it's only like transferred over today.
Yeah.
So.
According to a real nice article by Ranker.com, History of Video Game Cheats, it looks like they've been around essentially for the entire history of video games themselves. And it looks like they were using these codes, these cheats, to work on the game themselves in the play testing phase of the development of the game. So they would use these codes to modify specific elements within the game without necessarily, to come to a finished product, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's kind of part of it, because you think, like, how we see games today released into beta, like you couldn't really do that. You had that cartridge you had to pump out there, and when it was out, like you're going to recall that bad boy and have folks come down and reprogram it or something. Like it ain't happening. So
there's supposed to be a dragon.
It's not dropping the loot,
but it's a square.
And it's killing me. Yeah. So, you had to get that right. So you had to test this bad boy.
I mean, we've been pulling from the same articles here, but if we go back to the very first consoles, we're talking Atari. We're talking what's it called? The CX-7, I believe. No, I'm getting that wrong. Atari. We've got, I remember the Intellivision because we talked about that. Commodore 64. Let me pull it up real quick. I'm going to use a cheat code myself. We use them from time to time, only here on the podcast, not in-game. But I think it was Manic Miner. Manic Miner is a good example. I'm going to bring that up. But basically what I want to get at is before we had our Nintendo, before we had Sega, before we had, these consoles that were coming out in the late 80s, early 90s, we had things, here they are. It's called the ZX Spectrum. Commodore 64, Commodore 16, a bunch of old gaming platforms. And what they would do is they would use, and this is to test the games, they would use something called pokes and peaks, K-E, all capital, and then peaks, P-E-E-K, all capital. And these were basically just commands, it looked like, that, like, I actually went online. I wanted to see what this actually looked like, because if you read the articles on History of Cheat Codes, they explain it. But it's one thing to read what it says and be like, oh, okay, they use commands to alter elements within the game. But I really wanted to see what that looked like.
Yeah.
You know, so I went onto YouTube, and it's kind of like just like they'd use like the Commodore or these old school keypads to go into the command prompt for a game, or like the actual programming, the coding, and they would like make little tiny switches to a letter or to a number, and that would literally change, like you could see the game on a separate screen and how it would change in real time when you hit that command by entering a poke command. So it'd be like, Manic, I'm just gonna use Manic Miner as an example. Manic Miner dot 001 exe or whatever the thing, and then there'd be like some more code, and then there'd be like 4 letters, and if you change the last 2 letters to different letters, it would like change the color of the background.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. So that's what it looks like was the very first, the beginning elements of cheat codes.
Yeah, I'm just imagining too, like I think there's just some excitement there, almost as much fun as the game is, like figuring that thing out. Like, I mean, you got to feel like a pretty smart motherfucker when you get in there.
I might crash this whole house, but I'm gonna change the color of this background
From green to blue. Yes,
whatever it takes for an extra life.
Yeah,
I guess that's true, because you could really crash the game, right?
Yeah, that peeking and poking around, like I watched some of those videos as well, and I think part of, like, maybe we weren't seeing the work that it took to like figure out which one of those was the right place to make that change, and like I say, you might crash that whole bad Larry there before
That whole house of cards.
Yeah, so, and it wasn't like you could go on the internet and get some information to fix it, so
Yeah.
I feel like both these things like started happening right away, but if I had to like just really lay a timeline out, I think I'd probably put the playtesters maybe just a second before the pokes and peaks, like, and the only reason I say that is, like, it seems like there might be a time before the cartridge was actually released that they were testing it, and it's, I feel like the peaks and pokes like probably came after the game had been put out. And,
I see.
And then you had, like, folks that owned it, like, going in there to modify it, but
That'd be interesting. That'd be interesting. Yeah. Like, wouldn't that be interesting to have someone, maybe on in the future, we could revisit this topic with someone, like maybe they could write in or hit us up on the email. We'll drop that at the end of the episode, and we could talk about it in the future with someone that, worked on stuff like that. It would be interesting.
Yeah. And you'd have to think too, like it's just like if I was developing something, or, if I came up with a song or something, I might share it with you, like as almost like my own little beta test or something like that, so you bet these guys had video game friends that they shared this with, and I bet they started poking and peeking right as soon as they got a hold of it too. So, that might go contrary to what I just said, but I feel like, just like I say, my guess is the playtesters came first, but that peeking and poking around there, as I understand, those were like commands in the basic language, the basic programming language that came out that sort of, I think there's an analogy to what they call pointers today. Yep. It's just sort of like a place that tells the computer where to look for certain things, and I think you could peek in there and see what was there, or you could poke a new command in there, like that change we were talking about earlier, and it was a little bit of trial and error. Just kind of thinking, how difficult that was there in the very beginning, and sort of which came first, the playtesters or the peeks and pokes, and like I say, I think they're fairly simultaneous. But if I had to go with one, I'd say the playtesters, maybe came first, but.
I gotta be the devil's advocate there. I gotta push back and not push back, but I think I'm in a total agreement more rather. But I kind of look at it, as you mentioned, as a simultaneously it was like a symbiosis of things going on. Like we had play testers, most certainly, game developers, and they needed to make these modifications, adjustments. They needed to polish their games to the best of their ability, as you said, pre-release, because once it's out, it's out. Cat's out of the bag. Can't bring it back. And how they would do that was peeking and poking, which I gotta say, every time I say peeking and poking, it's it's kind of like like he's peeking and poking around. Like,
You can get 5 years in jail for that around here.
God. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
I don't know how peeking and poking was looked at in the 80s and 90s, but nowadays.
And one thing that's coming to my mind is like, I just feel like as a game developer, you see all these mods. Like I'll be watching videos of Ark even, and I'll see these incredible mods that people have. I just saw a guy the other day, like he had this like walkie-talkie looking thing, and he was able to send his team back to base, like somehow, like he didn't just cryopod it, he sent it like back to base. I assume it's like through the upload, type situation where you can do with them there, and and I just wonder, like if they kind of take offense when they see those things, and also wonder if like new things that you do don't cause problems like somewhere else. Like maybe it's something that the developers would have done, but they had to not do that because it caused problems somewhere else, or caused an imbalance somewhere, or made something too easy or too hard at a later part.
Yeah. Gosh, that would be frustrating. Like if as a programmer, you got your game there, and what's really important to keep in mind here for all of us is that, when we say game testing, we're not talking about, Elder Ring. We're not talking about the new Assassin's Creed. We're not talking about these video games that we're now familiar with that are just beautiful and, have a ton of depth, and you can tell they're just AAA games. That's why they're called AAA games. No, we're talking about these old school, I don't even know if they're considered 2D, maybe like 1D. I don't even know. Obviously, they're 2D. Yeah. They're side-scroller games, these very old-school games that at the time were the tip of the spear. These were images that were blowing kids' minds. So pulling that back in, I think as a developer, you have this creation, and maybe by using a command change over here, you can, like, what I'm getting at is maybe there was a change that was made that was so amazing that they wanted to keep. But upon doing that, because of where the technology was, that small change could really complicate the game in another area and just kind of kill that vibe that, like, oh my gosh, I found this I don't know, this language or this command that makes this amazing change in the game. But upon doing that, it renders all the bosses extremely hard to beat, or, half the map disappears, or whatever the case may be. So that must have been a very challenging yet exciting, inspiring frontier for game testers and developers.
Yeah. And you hear today, like all this, more like an open source context, like where, they want folks' ideals and kind of incorporate them in the game. Like, as I understand it, we have maps in Ark that we're playing now that are user created maps.
That's correct.
That got so popular that and I feel like,
Ragnarok.
Yeah.
And, on Ark, Ragnarok.
I think, like, I hear the concept gatekeeping get mentioned a lot. Like, that seems to be something that's getting torn down right now. Like, in the past they might have said, like, don't meddle with my game. Like, son, you're going to cause it to crash or whatever. And now it's much more, open. Like, it's almost like that's embraced to some degree as part of the lore and the legacy of the game and what makes it fun, and those kind of things, like more that creative mode, that's available in so many games today. So. Absolutely. Yeah, I feel like back in those days there was a little bit more of a gate there. It was kind of like a, I don't know, like a nerd club or something almost, like the kids that knew and the programmers or whatnot.
Yeah, well,
a little more of exclusive type club there.
We ain't doing no gatekeeping, are we, John?
Oh man, we're kicking down gates.
Kicking them gates down. We're raiding those gates with C4 and rockets.
Behemoth gates.
Nothing can stop us.
Yeah.
Especially when we got those cinemac crops. Sorry,
right.
We're digressing into Ark again.
Fine.
Play it. Fun game.
Yeah.
So
at this point, yeah, I consider it real life. And
so okay, we've kind of tried to paint a visual of these peaks and pokes, but let me read a quick little excerpt before we move on to the next kind of phase of games and cheats out of the ranker.com article I found. It says basically, and this is in regards to peaks and pokes, unlike today's highly sophisticated computers and consoles, the 8-bit processors of the 1980s were pretty easy to manipulate. Naturally, many gamers took advantage of these computers' weaknesses by developing pokes. A poke involves digging into the memory of a game or program before booting it up and swapping around some of the values. If done correctly, players could boost certain stats and scores. Of course, there wasn't any easy way to tell what you were messing with, so players were just as likely to beef up their enemies as themselves. As players began to experiment, they'd often share their findings with others, developing a new form of cheats organically. So, and you know that last part kind of, and I'm sure we'll mention this directly or indirectly, but the part where it says here at the end, they'd often share their findings with others. That takes me back to elementary schoolyard days.
yeah.
Swapping cheats, man, as if they were little bags of cane. You know what I'm saying? hey, you got those Donkey Kong cheats, bro? You got that?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Like,
I'll trade you Donkey Kong for that new Mega Man.
Oh my God.
Fire it at me, brother. You know?
Yeah, and you know, it was pretty rough at my school sometimes. Like I'm picturing more like the third graders, like, you know, getting me as a first grader up
beating them out of you
and beating them out.
Jesus. Chuck T.
Chuck T. Luckily, Chuck T. was a pretty big little kid, so I probably could have went toe to toe with those third graders.
Gave him the tomahawk.
Yeah, I'm not giving up my cheat codes by force for sure. Yeah, you know, I think there was a bonding there, and also like just knowing that information was important. Like just sort of to be, you know, I think when we're in a conversation like that and we're kind of meeting new people and things like you want to, you know, come across as smart and like it's just one of those ways, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. You gotta have playground cred, you know.
Yeah,
and that's still a thing
today. Rep,
you gotta exactly. Like, you know, when you're walking by, you want the circle, that little circle over there yonder of all the hot senorita. Like, oh, you hear about that? Chuck T over there's got those Donkey Kong cheats. What's going on?
I'm just picturing kids playing the game and being like, "Mom, can I call John?"
Oh man, those are good times. We'll have to make an episode about you know, those old school days of just like lying out on the carpet playing video games all night when parents think you're asleep, but you're not really asleep.
Yeah, no wonder my back hurts these days.
Copy that. Yeah. Well, let's keep the momentum going here real quick. Continuing from this Ranker article, it says in the early 90s, cheats became a way to get around hardware problems. I think this is where the real playtesting comes in. And reading it here, it says, as games got bigger, they began requiring a lot of memory. While games like Pac-Man and Donkey Kong were meant to be restarted countless times, larger games with multiple worlds and overarching narratives were more difficult to beat in a single sitting. But there wasn't enough leftover memory to create in-game saves. As such, gamers were either forced to purchase a memory card or they could use cheats to bookmark their progress. Before the internet, games like Mega Man 2 gave players unique codes every time they beat a level. When they turned the game off, all their progress reset, but by typing in a code, it brought them right back to where they had left off.
Yeah. That's a big deal. I mean, it's incredibly frustrating, like, you know, when your mom tells you it's time to get off the
Yeah.
You know, the game system there and go to bed, and you got to start all over tomorrow.
And I think this is what I kind of look at as the next milestone in cheat codes. You know, we've now kind of passed the Atari, Intellivision, Commodore 64 era, and now we're looking at Nintendo Entertainment System, Sega Genesis, and those were really the first. It was Nintendo. And when Nintendo came out, I think in 1983, I might be wrong, might be 84, but I think it's 83. When that came out, it really stood alone. It was like, damn, look at this thing, Duck Hunt, Mario, you know, yeah. It kind of had a golden aura around it. Whenever I went and visited Johnny G, he had a Nintendo. I remember being very little. I think I was like 4 or 5 years old, and we go to Johnny G's house, and you know, he had a Nintendo, man. And he had a freaking trampoline outside. When you're 5 years old and you're faced with the decision of Nintendo or trampoline, what do you do? You know. Yeah, anyways,
Which one is the most likely to send you to the emergency room is my question, because I'm pretty sure you're talking about those. Like nowadays, they got nets around trampolines. And
no, I'm talking about a 1993 trampoline.
Dude, I think there's a friend of mine that's still up in the air somewhere. Like, from those damn trampolines.
He hasn't come down yet.
Hello, Major Tom. We would get in a circle, dude, and just like, you know, get that ultimate timing. You know?
Yeah, like, you know, and you'd feel the neck, like you'd feel your neck get like, you know, minor shock every time you get launched into the air on those damn things, man. There's got to be little microfractures in my neck still from that.
Dude, we launched a kid sideways once, like it kind of the timing wasn't right, and we had just landed, and he got that angle, and he went to the fence, and like took that fence in the ribs, like, you know, and you know what's going to happen if we go tell mom, like, we're going to have to get off this trampoline, so you got to suck that up and get back up.
Yeah, you're going to get another freaking shot to the ribs. From Chuck T.
It's like, we all see you're spitting up blood, but we're not going to tell you. Like, you got to get up here.
You're all right. It's fun. Come on, man. It'll just rub it out. Yeah, God. Anyways, so okay, we're
video
totally
game,
digressing.
Much better choice. Safer.
That, you know, I never thought about that. I could have used that as an arguing point. But like, look, everyone. Either let me play Duck Hunt, or I'm going to go out and hurt myself.
Yeah, exactly.
You be the parent. You be the parent. I'm just kidding. No. I'm just playing around. But, okay, so we basically got a second milestone here on the newer consoles. And I think if we didn't mention, and there's going to be, I know listeners are going to hear this and be like, why didn't you mention this? And why didn't you mention that? And the truth is there's so many games that represent cheat code history for some people. You know, they have cheat codes that mean a lot to folks. But I think one of them that we would be certainly, you know, not very good gamers if we didn't mention it is the Konami Code. Yeah. Konami. I pronounce it Konami. So I'm going to read another little excerpt, but before I do that,
I say it's like the world's most famous cheat code, huh?
I'd have to agree with you, Chuck T. Mm-hmm. I know it's an Easter egg and plenty of media out there.
Yeah.
And I was watching a GameRanks video of I think it was like one of their top 10 lists, you know, and I think it was like crazy cheats found by players or something. And I don't remember what Assassin's Creed game it is, but there's like a turkey. If you find it, it's in town, and you basically just walk up to this turkey, and you do the Konami Code, which is I got it pretty memorized. You got it memorized, Chuck T?
I got it.
You got it?
And yeah.
So let's pretend ChukTomahawk just walk up to this random turkey in Assassin's Creed and
up, down, left, right, BA start.
And then boom, the turkey would appear all of a sudden with the Assassin's Creed hood. You know, that head garment thing that he wears in the game? All of a sudden the turkey would appear with that and start following you around. So not really a cheat per se, like it didn't benefit you in the game or make anything better, but kind of like a an homage to the Konami Code, which was created by Mr. Kazuhisa Hashimoto. I think he's from Japan.
So I got some late breaking news on the Konami Code for you here.
Shit.
Can I put you on the spot?
Oh, God.
Morning?
I'm nervous. Hit me. Hold on. Let me stretch out my shoulders. Ready.
What is the Konami Code for 2 players? Like, we're playing Contra. We both want 30 lives.
Oh, I don't know the answer to this. I didn't know. Where did you find?
It's okay, little tiger. I got you.
Oh, why are you? Ladies and gentlemen, John's looking at me with these eyes, man. These devil eyes.
You push.
He came at me with a curveball right there.
BA start, you push BA select start, and you both get 30 lives.
I did not know that.
Boom.
Damn.
Yeah, I got you. God. I'm not going into battle with 30 lives and you with 3. I mean,
dude,
you know,
I just got goosebumps.
I had to find that extra little thing there, you know.
God, man,
it's true.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, did you know that Manic Miner had a sequel?
I did not. I did not till I saw a photo.
Oh yeah. We don't have to say anything more about that. But if you guys, dear listeners, if you're interested in checking out why that's funny to us, just look up Manic Miner, and you'll see what appears to be a pretty standard, 80s game. And then you look up its sequel, look at the game art for it, and it's kind of hard to figure out where they were going with that.
Even once you told me what it was, I still couldn't see it. Like, it was like one of those, like, I think in the 90s there were these like pictures you looked at and everyone could see like something in it, like if you looked at it, like I never saw that shit. Like, never one in my life did it ever work for me. And that's exactly how I felt when I looked at that picture. I was just like, what is it? Is it upside down? Like,
is this related to the game?
Yeah. There's more too. Like, not just that one. I looked up like images with that, and there's another one that's like it's like a big space suit type thing, and inside the spacesuit is a little man, like a little gnome looking guy, like sitting inside of there. Like
interesting. Yeah.
I feel like lots of drugs going on over there somewhere.
It was the 80s, man. And I think, what's his name? What was the guy's name? That Matthew Smith, I think, was the Manic Miner.
Driver's license.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and we didn't mention that. Okay, not to digress, not to backtrack, but one of those peaks and pokes, I believe, was in Manic Miner, what you could do. No, I don't know if it was a peek or poke, but it's definitely one of the first cheat code things. Is Matthew Smith would use his driver's license number to open up the cheat library within Manic Miner, enabling him to work on and pimp out aspects of the game. Anyways, so yeah, check that out if you're interested. Manic Miner did have a sequel and then another one. But we're gonna move on. I want to read a quick excerpt from the Ranker article regarding the Konami Code. While developing a game called Gladius, which I believe was the arcade version.
I want to apologize to our listeners. I'm sucking the sides in on my coffee here.
Oh, it's okay. It's good. It's good to get some of those sounds from our environment. I think, what's it called? ASMR or something like that? Something like
This
that?
is how you get your coffee. If it's not coming out that little hole fast enough, just keep sucking.
Oh, Jesus. Okay, gosh darn. Let's keep it on track here. We're getting a little, it's early in the morning, so we're just being a little silly. We're just being a little silly here. So while developing a Gladius port, so Gladius was arcade version, in my understanding. So they were developing a port. This is Kazuhisa Hashimoto was developing a port for the Nintendo Entertainment System in 1986. And he encountered a problem. The game was just too difficult to play. Rather than tweaking the difficulty so gamers could beat it more easily, Hashimoto added a code that allowed players to gain 30 extra lives, 30, G. Not 15, not 20, 30. The code, up, up, down, down, left, right, B, A, start. Or as we just learned here from ChukTomahawk, B, A, start, select, if there's 2 players, was added solely so Hashimoto could play the game could play the game more easily and test its features for bugs and glitches. He's quoted as saying, the arcade version Gladius is very difficult, right? I never played it that much, and there was no way I could finish the game, so I inserted the so-called Konami Code. And then you could hear a samurai sword going, shing! No, that's fake. I made that up.
You know, you got it right. You know, I think that's interesting that he couldn't beat his own game.
Yeah. Isn't that funny?
You know, I want to go to a little place there. I don't want to derail us. You know, we'll come back in this direction. But one interesting thought there is they made these games so hard so that, you know, back in the day, we were renting these things down at the Blockbuster. So, you know, they made it so hard that you couldn't rent it. You couldn't rent it and beat it in one, you know, rental period. Like you had to buy that bad boy. They wanted you to buy that bad boy.
Well, they were in cahoots.
And they wanted you to feel like you got your money's worth too, I'm sure. Like
if you didn't take the game back on time, penalty
Late
charges,
fees.
late fees, man. They were in cahoots, man. Hashimoto and Blockbuster, they were making.
Boom.
I think that's a conspiracy theory right there, but there sounds like there's a lot of background to it.
You know, I think probably you had a similar experience there in Baja. Like, there weren't no Blockbuster in our hometown. You had
we had El Video Centro.
Yeah, we had Bubba's Movie Time.
Bubba's Movie Time. Jeez.
Yeah, that one little room in the back, you know,
in a suburb of Tennessee or something.
Yeah, even though we were there in the Bible Belt, it did have that porno room in the back
with the beads hanging from the top. Did it have beads
it had a door. It had a door, like you were forbidden. You know, I wasn't allowed to go in there until I was much older. But yeah, you always wondered what was going on in there. But yeah,
once you actually get to go in there, you go in there. There'd be some other guy in there. You never exchange eye contact.
Hell no.
Why is Janet's husband in here?
Yeah, exactly. Like, and then coming out of there, like you know, it wasn't like you could see out of there. Like you had to buzz back out into the video store.
Yeah, people looking at how many cassettes were in your hand.
Yeah, but yeah, you were renting these games, so a little bit different environment out there.
Oh gosh. Okay, so, and of course we didn't mention this, but Gladius came to be Contra on the Nintendo.
No kidding. I didn't know that.
I think so. The code really took off when Americans discovered in a later game. Oh no, in a later game. Oh man, I'm sorry. I this whole time I thought Contra was the same as Gladius, but it looks like they're two different games.
Nothing compares to Contra, dude. I mean, when you're side by side with your buddy, I mean, I'm going to say maybe Rambo at some point, like, got to those levels, and possibly Commando, but Contra was something special.
Yeah.
Like, I think when you started with that gun that only shot one bullet, and later on you had one that shot 3, you know, you were just up there.
Yeah.
Jamming. And those bosses, man.
I'm gonna have to play some of that. I mean, obviously I've played Contra, but it's been quite some time.
Yeah.
Okay. So we talked about, let me see here. We talked about how, so before we move on to the next part, which is fascinating, and I did get to dabble in this a little bit, which was the cheat cartridges. Should we go through a couple? Let's go through a couple. You sent a really nice list from Den of Geek, which I believe is a online gaming news platform or something like that.
I think I first discovered it looking like for reviews of Star Trek episodes, or, you know, trying to figure out what was going on in like an extremely hard to understand temporal paradox of a Star Trek episode. And yeah, they like kind of like IGN, I think, is another one, but Den of Geek seems to be a good place for reviews, and looks like they had a list of like the top 15 cheat codes of all time there.
I don't know if we're gonna do. We might synthesize this and just go through a couple. I'll pick a few and we can talk about them. Real quick, Chuck T. I gotta go discharge a number 1 real quick. If you need to fill your coffee mug or hit the bathroom, let's do that and come right on back.
All right, sounds good. Let's do it.
We'll be right back, listeners. Thank you for your patience. All right, Ovox is back. We'll just wait for ChukTomahawk here, and then we're gonna push through a few more topics, finishing up with achievements and microtransactions, and then we're gonna finish off this episode because it looks like Zoom doesn't want us loitering on their platform for over 40 minutes. We're going to have to make some payments to get more time. Oh, here comes Chuck T. Coming in hot with that Carhartt shirt. Yeah.
Yeah.
My man.
All right. Fresh coffee.
Oh, yeah.
Appalachia.
Ooh. Make one for me?
Yeah. You know what the worst gamer tag of all time would be? Ezekiel.
Why?
Ezekiel.
Oh.
I'm going to change my Warzone name to that.
I like ChukTomahawk.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with that. No, Ezekiel.
Whenever I see, gamer tags like that, it's all good, but sometimes they're like, really? Like, you got clapped?
Yeah. I still can't remember it, but
clap.
I saw there was this kid. It was like lagging Chris, and he had kind of like spaced it out, like so it was looked like it was lagging, like it was good, man. It really got me there.
There's some creative ones.
Someone named their game on Steam Very Positive.
Oh, you saw that?
Yeah,
I heard about that, dude. They got kicked off.
Yeah.
The name of the developer was Very Positive. Yeah, they got in trouble for that. See, everyone's cheating and trying to gain the advantage. Oh, I think you might be bumping your...
Yeah, I was just straightening my feet up here.
Oh,
Good.
Yeah, man. See, that's what we're talking about. So cheat codes have been around since gaming, but people trying to gain the advantage, oldest time.
Dude, the outlaw Josie Wales had the sun to his back, so people would be blinded in a gunfight. So it's been going on way before Red Dead.
Roger that. So what he was doing was exploiting the game mechanics.
Yeah, so
Josie
Wales.
Wales.
Stay alive.
Staying alive. Yeah. Okay, so let's see here, man. See, there's a lot of going back to the Den of Geek top 15 cheat code games of all time. There's a bunch on here, 15 as a matter of fact, but we're only going to go through. I gotta mention the first one.
That GTA, baby.
Yeah, Grand Theft Auto 3. Spawn a Rhino tank.
God.
Thoughts and comments?
If I could spawn a Rhino tank in real life, I'd do it right now and leave. I'd just be like, later.
Yeah, get in front of me. Get in front of me. Yeah, basically, you just type in a series of buttons on the controller. PlayStation 2, I believe, was when the Grand Theft Auto 3 came out, which was the first Grand Theft Auto game played in third person. The first two were from above. I think they called it God Mode or maybe RTS. That's more of an Age of Empires style, but, that was really cool. Real quick, before we go on to the next games, I personally didn't use that cheat code a lot. I was more of a all weapons and ammo guy on the Grand Theft Auto, but I did use the Rhino tank every now and then just for fun.
Yeah, I think everybody does it once, and you kind of destroy the town and get your wanted level up as high as it can go, and blow that SWAT truck up when it pulls up. Mm-hmm. Now what are you gonna do? So it's not. It kind of runs the show, as far as the actual missions and things like that in the game. But
yeah, and you don't want to save the game after activating a cheat code.
True that.
Tip of advice to our listeners: if you haven't used cheat codes in Grand Theft Auto, don't save the game after activating them, or unless don't activate the riot cheat and then save the game. You'll be hating yourself after that, because that's that cheat code. Go ahead. Sorry.
How do you get to a place where you make a Rhino tank? Like, who looks at a tank and is like, this isn't tough enough. Like, I need a Rhino coating on it, though. That's
I see what you're saying. Is that what you think they're getting at with that?
I don't know. It says Rhino tank.
Yeah, it doesn't say Abram.
Shit.
Yeah, let's take this bitch down to the fucking tune shop, put on a Rhino coat.
I was thinking like that bed liner, like the spray and bed liner.
Dude, I think the creator of that stayed at the surf camp once.
No shit.
I think so. I mean, I might, some people come into the surf camp with some wild stories, making shit up, but some of them are true.
Yeah. I don't think I could be surprised if I met anyone there at the surf camp. It's like, oh, hey,
right.
Jesus,
Let's see. Let's go down to, speaking of Age of Empires 2, the Shelby Cobra cheat. Does that ring a bell for you? I use that cheat a bunch.
Whipping shitties on people's little town square.
Yeah, so basically, if you haven't played Age of Empires 2, it's an RTS game. Yes, master.
I'm ready.
On my way. Yes, master. On my way. I'm ready. As you wish. Yeah, man. Great game, man. One of those old civilization building games. It's a RTS. You look from the top down. Great game. And in that, you'd hit enter and it'd open a chat command, and you just type in specific words or sentences, and a cheat would activate. One of those being you could spawn a Shelby Cobra automobile and whip it around town.
Yeah, see how it pairs up.
Pull up and skirt. Pull up on town square and skirt. But again, that wasn't a cheat that I was using a whole bunch. I was more a fan of using the resources cheats, so that like you could type in a specific words, and then all of a sudden you'd have like 1,000,000 wood, 1,000,000 gold, 1,000,000 this, that, or the other, and you could just build freely. But that also took
out one night at a time over there. Like, yeah, it's just like it's a process, man.
Man,
you want those siege weapons, it's that game just happens so it takes forever to build that stuff up, and then I lose it like in a second. It feels like, but
going to battle.
Yeah, it is fun though.
All right, let's see here. The next one I want to mention, I'm going to mention 3 more. Gosh, folks, it's hard because there's a lot of cheats on here that I know some of you are going to be like, why in the hell did you not mention, the Mortal Kombat blood code? Why did you not mention, the Legend of Zelda codes? Why didn't you? But I mean, obviously we're mentioning them now, but there's just so many cool codes out there that kind of have made their mark in gaming history. But the next one I want to mention is the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 Moon Physics, which I think was just a crazy cheat, because as it was in Tony Hawk, you could do some pretty crazy tricks that in real life are not even possible. It's not possible to do a 360 flip onto a power cable up on one of the main power lines and grind it all the way to the next block and then do another look at me.
First try.
I'm doing a 50-50 on a high tension wire.
I'm going to switch it to an impossible and land into a board slide.
Yeah.
Dark slide.
Yeah. Now I'm halfway across the map in a half pipe. It's just like the physics were kind of insane as it was. But the moon physics was a fun cheat. That was a fun
Dude, I think if they wanted to make it real, they should have just like sent you a hammer and had you beat yourself in the knees and elbows.
That's why I stopped skating, man. It's painful.
Oh
it's
my
painful.
God, dude. It is incredibly painful.
I
never got to the level you were at. Like I definitely got to see you skate as a kid, and it's something to be proud of. You're good.
Yeah, thank you, man. It was fun. And when I look back and I go to I don't go down there too often anymore, but whenever I go by that skate park here in town and I look at the blood wall, it's like, God, man, how did my dad let me drop in on that? Like,
I think
what kind of parent allows their kid to...
I remember when they were building that place, the guy was down there, like it was illegal in the United States at that time to make that much vert, wasn't it?
Well, it wasn't illegal, but he was suggesting that, there was not the oversight that there would have been in like Oregon, for example, where that skate park team was from, I think.
Yeah.
So he was definitely pumped. I remember him saying, "It's going to be gnarly." So what's the skate park going to look like? It's going to be gnarly. Like, okay.
You remember when Peter Hewitt and all those guys from Thrasher came? And
yeah.
Yeah,
You were
dude,
here
that
for
was-
you. Oh, that's.
yeah, it
I have
was.
pictures of that, man.
I do too. One of those kids was from Knoxville. I forget what he was like a lesser known pro, but dude, I watched those guys like they would play this follow the leader type thing, and
Yeah.
like you could just see it was torturous for like Peter could do it fairly easy, but every one of the other ones would just like beat themselves to death, and he did too. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, to get that good trick, you got to do it like 10 times that you really, jam yourself.
Yeah,
so.
and those 9 times you got to know how to fall.
Yeah.
Otherwise, man. All right, let's keep this momentum going.
Those moon physics would have been nice down there, but yeah.
All right, we already talked about the Konami Code. That's in here. I think we have to mention Doom. The clipping cheat, the God mode cheat. I think there was like a all weapons cheat, but Doom. There's a lot of gaming history around that game. We could talk about Doom. We could have a whole episode on Doom, I bet. But the one thing that I wanted to mention real quick was that I believe Doom was the first game, and kind of the mother to all other games where the clipping was a thing. So this was the first game that had no clipping. Clipping is basically where your character model would come up against a perimeter or a border within the gaming map or environment, and it would prevent the character from going through that. So like if you walked up to a wall, you wouldn't be able to go through the wall, and that was called clipping. So there's a cheat where you could deactivate the clipping, and it was called no clipping. So that enabled you to freely explore the map in its entirety, going through walls. You could go through everything. And we enjoy that today in some other games that we actually play today, like Ark.
Mm-hmm.
That's
like
something
creative
that,
mode or something. Yeah.
And then, so, God mode, we already know what that is. Where you can't get killed.
And just like briefly to say about the Doom, I just remember that game like scaring the absolute shit out of me on a number of occasions, and so like if you could go through those walls and kind of know what was coming, like okay, in this room coming up, there's a guy that's going to jump out, like it, it really took a lot of the thunder, away from it. Like a good analogy would be like it'd be the difference in me, just experiencing like lightning out of the blue, and versus you saying, hey, there's going to be lightning here in a minute. Like, brace yourself or whatever.
Yep.
Like you don't get that startle, that fight or flight response quite the same. But
Doom used to scare the shit out of me too. And another game, I actually liked it a little bit more. I think it came out after Doom. Maybe even it was inspired by Doom. They definitely seem similar. But do you remember Duke Nukem?
I remember Duke Nukem.
It's time to kick ass and chew bubble gum. Problem is, I'm all out of gum.
I thought they found like that balance, like that cartoon reality balance, like in such a sweet spot that Duke Nukem should be in a class by itself. Like I loved that game.
Yep.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah. So Duke Nukem, classic, wasn't in the list here, but that was another game that I really enjoyed, and I definitely remember using cheat codes on.
I remember like looking for some kind of like poster on the wall that had possibly some reference to porn or something.
Oh my God, man!
Like when I think of,
I hate to admit it, but me too. Man. Well, because Duke Nukem was a game that every like it was kind of like Metal Gear Solid. Every now and then you could open up like a locker or something, and there'd be like a poster of a really attractive lady. They would never actually be nude. They'd be in like a real skimpy bikini or something, And as a little kid, back in the 90s, man, you basically either had to play Duke Nukem or hope that one of your uncles had some Playboys under the bed or something. That was pretty much all, or some Easy Riders.
I think like what captured that feeling was Mad Magazine, like with Alfred E. Newman. That little bit of like that teenage boy that kind of. It's like you're old enough to know better, but too young to care really much.
Exactly.
About it,
I like that. Old enough to know better, too young to care. Get her done. That's right.
Show me them titties. Kids these days, like they're not like that. Like they've already seen titties by that age. And we want to see some stuff.
Gosh, yeah, ain't that the truth though, man? Yeah. The interwebs are something else. All right, well, hey, we could go into Goldeneye, but man, I feel like we're gonna talk about Goldeneye for a whole hour by its own. That game has a tremendous, it had a tremendous impact on so many players. Goldeneye 007 was a tremendously fun game. I think it was everyone's favorite for the Nintendo 64.
It did a lot better than Brown Eye. Like, Brown Eye really never went anywhere, I felt like.
Brown Eye? What are you talking about? Oh, I get it. Goldeneye, Brown. I get it. No, Brown. I'm like, what in the hell is he talking about?
No disrespect to 007, man. Love that freaking game. I think it like paved the way for all of the multiplayer type things we do today.
It did. It really did. I think that game showed everyone the potential that multiplayer FPS, first-person shooter. Yeah. You know, I think that game really like showed, like, hey, this is the popularity that we're seeing here. This is what this kind of format of gaming is capable of. And then with the onset of the internet and all that, which we're about to get into, to finish off this block, So 007, huge impact. I mean, we're talking about invincibility mode. We're talking about paintball mode, where all the bullets would be paintballs.
Big head mode.
Big head mode. Super popular cheat code in many games.
Yeah.
Big head mode.
Yeah.
I think
NBA Jams is in there. Yeah. You see that everywhere today, and I think as the graphics have gotten better, it only looks cooler. Like it really looks like the people nowadays. You know? Yeah,
graphics have improved a bunch. Yeah, it's funny because in my mind I think about Goldeneye, and it just seems like a beautiful graphics game. But in reality, you get used to playing the games today, and you go back and look at these older games that we used to play, and it's like, oh gosh, shit. Yeah. But at the time, man, it was tip of the spear.
Yeah. I think there's always like a little buy-in moment. Like even when I came back to Ark after not playing for a while, like just for a second, I sensed I was in a video game world, and like now it looks incredibly real, like compared to that. So,
all right, well let's move on to the next little section. And there's probably not a whole bunch to dig in on this, but we should mention it because it did form part of the evolution of cheat codes, and that is the cheat cartridges. Cheat cartridges gave players an easy way to alter games. I'm going to read a quick excerpt here from the same Ranker.com article. Soon after the inception of the home consoles, video game cheat cartridges and programs began to hit the market. These programs could be purchased and inserted into consoles or computers to help fix bugs, alter stats, and otherwise change virtually anything about a game. Although most gamers remember tools like Game Genie, which came out in 1990, there are instances of businesses selling cheat programs as early as 1981. Within months of, let's see here. Oh, you know what? I don't need to mention this. This is kind of irrelevant, but it was just the second part of this article. But, I mean, we've got Game Genie, and the one that I remember the most and that I know a couple of neighbors had, and it blew my mind, was Game Shark.
Yeah. I think my first exposure to this was like sort of like an infomercial or maybe just a commercial. Like I saw that, and I remember thinking like, that's going to tear up my Nintendo. Like it just seemed like it's like it was kind of jammed in there. Like it was already like you were having to blow on the cartridges occasionally. And like, I think you could get those pins bent fairly easy in there where the game went. And, I remember thinking like, that's going to put some serious torque on this bad boy, but you also saw the potential.
Yeah, turn it into a Hemi. Is that a Hemi?
It's like, this is Donkey Kong Deluxe right here.
Yeah.
I think it's almost like like hacking or peeking and poking, like facilitated,
did it
like
for
with
you.
the user interface.
Yeah.
Of sorts. Where you could bring up that screen and you had your little book that had all the codes for the different games in there, and
And what do you like? I mean, we know the answer to this, but just to change the dynamic here a little bit of the conversation, what do you think the reason for these cartridges? And I forgot to mention, because this is at the same time, the magazines. Nintendo Power, Tips and Tricks, and all of those gamer magazines. What do you think they were getting at with this, Chuck Tomahawk, with these cartridges and these magazines? Does it sound like there might be a little marketing scheme there? Poppy?
Yeah, I think, you had a situation where you as we learned with the video game crash of 1983 there, greed can, and CEOs and the market can kind of play into it. And I think they were selling that cartridge and then the money making was over. So, you needed a way like downloadable content, was, really in its infancy. Like we talked about the play cable last week, you're probably only getting that in your big old cities. And, so, here's a way to sort of manipulate that, for the low price of $29.99. I can't remember exactly what it cost.
It was a spendy. It was a subscription. I think you'd receive that magazine in the mail, the regular mail, folks, postal service, or you could buy it at gaming shops, like in a mall. It was a spendy magazine.
Yeah, but it had the goods, man. It had that section. It was just totally dedicated to cheat codes, and you flip over there, and
how
there
much?
you go, man.
Let me check real quick. I'm gonna use a cheat code real quick. How much was a Game Shark back in the day? Let's see if I can find anything. But go ahead and continue.
I think one interesting thing about that is I remember the vibe of the commercial kind of being like almost like it painted the video game developers as gatekeepers of sorts, and this was your ticket to get in there. It's like they're not letting you do this and get the full fun out of it, but we here at Game Genie, we got you. And we're gonna kick down that door and let you in here and let you monkey around, but also with the little bit of sidewalls, where we know we're not going to crash the game, unlike the peeks and pokes that we talked about earlier, where you might have some unintended result. So it's definitely part of the history. I mean,
I can't find any pricing on these items. I know I could find it, but I don't want to waste too much time here. But one interesting deal was that I believe Nintendo, Sega, the developers, the owners and CEOs and all that, they weren't too stoked on Game Shark, and Game Genie. They're like kind of not. They weren't feeling it, and I believe there was a proper lawsuit, a court case, where ultimately the judge was like, well, you know what, these Game Shark things and Game Genie, this is basically like just flipping to the middle of a book. They kind of looked at it like that. It's like, well, hey, you own a book, and this is just kind of like flipping to the middle of it. That was, from what I read from some articles, that was kind of the judge's determination, his legal opinion, and nothing. Game Shark and Game Genie continued. I think Game Shark Pro came out. There was a Game Shark for Nintendo 64, for Sega. I think there was even one for PlayStation, maybe. Don't quote me on that. I might be wrong. But there was even a little legal battle there. And it's just that greed side of it, like you're saying.
Yeah, and you can see the point. Like you've already purchased the cartridge. It's
they want,
if you want to jam it in a Game Shark or Genie or whatever, it's kind of your business.
Jam it in there. Get up in it and gain it. Get up in it and gain
it. Yeah, I like the book analogy. Like that makes sense. It'd be almost like suing the makers of bookmarks or something. After.
Well, I think that's what they were bumming on, is that hey, we're trying to publish these magazines. We're trying to get kids to buy these magazines so that they can read them and figure, get the cheats, and then go and then this cartridge, you could just plug it in and it was kind of already taken care of for you. Yeah, there was also a TV show called Cheat.
I think
it ran for 8 or 9 years.
It had a lady that hosted it. Is that?
Yeah, she's a hottie.
Yeah, there you go.
I think it was on the G4 and TechCom channels or something like that. I don't know.
Going back to that Mad Magazine vibe, that 12-year-old me, that's all I remember.
You were tuning in, weren't you?
She was super hot. Yeah, I was tuning in Tokyo right there.
Tokyo. Can I show you my peaks and pokes? That's what you were thinking.
I think that's a Mad Science, the movie Mad Science reference there for older viewers.
Oh, classic. Okay, let's gosh, we're gonna have to. We still got a little bit to talk about. We gotta get through this soon. Chuck Tomahawk and I gotta go to work eventually.
Keep
But,
the ball rolling. Yeah.
So we talked about the magazines. We talked about Game Shark and Game Genie. Really, the last segment of this brief history on cheat codes now comes to the onset of the internet, which I really think took, I don't want to put a year to it, but right around 2003, I suppose, it started to gain some speed, but not all consumers and homeowners had internet yet. But right around, I think it was like 2009, 2008. It was whenever PlayStation, in the 2010s, it looks like. Hold on one sec. I got a stuck cough here. Sorry, everyone. But let's see. I don't want to just randomly read an excerpt, but basically what happens is the internet comes out, PlayStation and Xbox, Xbox comes out, PlayStation's already been around for a little bit, and when they go to, I don't know if it was for PlayStation 3, I think it was when that big change made, but basically the whole paradigm, the whole dynamic of video games began to change, where you weren't buying physical games anymore, you were downloading them off the interwebs right onto your cloud, your PlayStation cloud or your Xbox cloud.
Yeah.
However, I don't have an Xbox, but I think it worked the same. And multiplayer was a real big deal now. And part of that new dynamic was the achievement system. Yeah. And also just having internet available, you didn't need to get a Game Shark anymore. You didn't need to get a Nintendo Power anymore. You just type it in on the old, Ask Jeeves-o. Oye, Jeeves. ¿Dónde están los cheat codes, perro? You know what I'm saying? And no, you just type it in on Google, essentially, and there are plenty of websites where you could find tips and tricks and cheats. And then, well, I know we're unpacking a lot into this last segment, but the achievement system, and then there's even a little bit more with all the anti-cheat software. But gosh, where to begin with Google and just searching cheats, how that changed everything, and then multiplayer scenario.
Yeah. I see this place like where you had this extra content like you saw in the beginning, like maybe they didn't think people were going to find these playtester type things and peeks and pokes, but once they realized that was going to happen anyway, they made it like things that we could find with just for free with a code. And nowadays, I think a lot of those things like Easter eggs and whatnot are linked to these things, like achievements and trophies, like where that's the reward. Maybe the Easter egg is the reward, or having some kind of skin or something like that.
Yeah.
And it also, I think we're starting to, I don't want to skip ahead too far, but I think we're seeing the beginnings of a product here that's about to be monetized, and we're going to see microtransactions kind of be the next step. From here.
You mean they're gonna grow on it and amplify on it because it's already a thing?
Yeah, instead of it maybe even being a reward for an achievement or trophy, maybe you give them 99 cents for that skin,
yeah, because
that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And like you say, the downloadable content, as I held on to it, like getting the cartridges. I think you and your brother there shamed me into stop and carrying.
We wouldn't do that.
I said,
what do you mean you're playing Ark on a disc, bro?
Yeah, shout out.
Download that shit.
But yeah, it's like I remember I think I drug my cartridge all the way to Mexico. Even flew down on a plane with it. And
yeah, you did. I remember that.
We were playing one night. And you guys were
you're over in Palapa.
Let's play some Battlefield. Yeah. And I was like, well, hold on, guys. Let me get over here in my bag.
You're over in Palapa 5 next to the pool playing Ark.
Yeah.
Only Chuck T, everybody.
Outside.
Vacationing in style, bro.
Cows with bells, eating mangoes right beside
what are you doing there south of the Tropic of Cancer? Fuck, playing Ark, bro. What else? Taming those wyverns. Oh, no, you can't tame them.
Surf at night. Come on.
Freaking get some.
My Keanu Reeves.
What is this?
We talked about that, I think, a little bit with the going back on the Intellivision, just, having that cartridge and thing. I held on to it as long as I could. Even had Ark on disc, and you saw it.
I did. I didn't even know Ark on disc existed. I needed to touch it to make sure it was real.
It's like a coaster for me now. I've got my coffee on it here. Hey, buddy.
You got your wyvern milk on there. So let me read a quick excerpt real quick. I was just looking through it, panning through it with my eyes, kind of like a side angle view while we were talking to see if it's relevant. And it seems relevant enough. It says, video games, and this is from Ranker.com again, coming at you. Thanks again, Ranker.com, for this great article. Video games depreciate in value remarkably quickly. Regardless of reviews, it's common to see all but the most popular games on sale for 50% off or more within a few weeks of their release. Because of this, developers are always looking for ways to profit off their work beyond the initial game sale. That's what we were talking about, Chuck T.
Yeah.
This has given rise to the proliferation of DLC, which is downloadable content. DLC loot boxes and other extra additions to games. Some of this extra content, like bonus character skins or secret levels, might have been hidden away via cheat codes or Easter eggs in past years, but gamers are now expected to pay for these exploits. See, this is where the game developers are just got dollar signs in their eyes, man. It's exactly what you're talking about.
Microtransactions.
For example, they have an example here. It says, when Mortal Kombat 10 came out in 2015, there was a bit of controversy surrounding the decision to sell quote-unquote easy fatalities. And we both know, and many gamers know, fatalities are like a cornerstone of the Mortal Kombat dynamic in that game. The fatality. It says, there was a bit of controversy surrounding the decision to sell easy fatalities. Many believed that they were forced to pay for something that should have been just included as a free cheat code, while others saw the practice as entirely within the developer's rights.
Yeah.
See, I kind of agree with the former and not the latter, because they're skins. Like, you design the characters in the game to have those skins. Why make anyone pay for them?
Yeah. I think when you put money to it kind of messes it up. Like it takes away that like in the know thing. Like and all you gotta, like, you go from in the know to all you need is some dough. Like, you know what I mean? Like, get those parents, Daddy Warbucks in there, like funding that for you.
There's lines, and I think every individual gamer needs to kind of make that choice for themselves and formulate their own opinion around it, because it's like, well, we'll use that Mortal Kombat 10 here as an example. They were talking about selling skins and selling fatalities. If you have a character in the game and that character has 5 fatalities, but you only have access to 2 of them and you have to pay for 3, I think, personally, Ovox, I think that's messed up. But I do think it would be okay, for example, if there was like a whole DLC to Mortal Kombat 10. Like, let's say, all right, and next year we're releasing this DLC. Well, you'll get all these new characters and you'll get more maps, and then there's a separate storyline. We're going to charge for that. Okay, that makes sense to me. That would make sense to me.
Something that would motivate me to play this game again. Like, if I've kind of come to a saturation point where I'm not, super interested in it anymore. I've used all the finishing moves and things like that. And maybe you give me some new skins and some new finishing moves and maybe another wrinkle or two in there, and for half the price of the original game, I almost get another game here, and that's a win-win.
Yeah,
like, you get some more cash, and I get some more fun. So, you got to bring something to the table there, man. You can't just make me pay for it after I've already paid.
Can't just be gouging us.
Yeah, yeah.
5 fatalities, unlock 3 for $9.99. God, no gracias, no gracias way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
because it was a kid with kid money, instead of like a kid with adult money, like I said. Like, so.
Yeah.
Kid money don't go too far.
Yeah, but it's definitely a topic, and it just really is a clear example of what you were talking about earlier about, how do we as game developers continue to make some dough on these finished products. And I think with the onset of, with internet and cloud memory and sharing, I think, which don't get me wrong, listeners, I love that I love where technology is taking gaming. It's made it very versatile. It's made it very user friendly. We don't have huge stacks of cartridges lying around everywhere. I love where it's going, but there's gray areas. There's areas that, like in anything, that need polishing, that need real considering, and in keeping the consumer in mind. You know, you don't want to screw your consumer. You want them to keep coming back. We want to keep coming back for more, which is where I think, you know, not to go off on a sidetrack here, but Warzone's done very good with that. You know, they're keeping their Call of Duty Modern Warfare and Warzone. Mm-hmm. They're keeping us coming in, man. They're keeping that real, you know, they're keeping the ball moving forward, always dropping new stuff. And yeah, there's microtransactions in there and there's skins that aren't unlocked, but they're really good at sucking from our attention span. They're good at, you know. But anyways, real quick, continuing the same excerpt, it says, achievements and trophies have made cheat codes less prominent. And this is really kind of the final stages of our discussion. It says, throughout gaming history, cheat codes were highly sought after by devoted gamers, as knowing the secrets of certain games proved players' dedication to gaming as a whole. But once the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3, okay, it was the PlayStation 3, started rolling out achievements and trophies, many have argued they replaced the clout traditionally achieved by cheat codes. Instead of establishing one's skills in person, players can now collect badges that tout their accomplishments, point to secret Easter eggs, and coagulate, that's a weird word to put, and coagulate across various games into a meta score. Oh, I see. Into a meta score. I see.
Yeah, I think I saw that in my research too, and I feel like a lot of these achievements and trophies like just require time, whereas, you know, more than they require actual skill, you know. And I think my example of that is like, if we go look at my, you know, Call of Duty profile, I've played the multiplayer and the you know, not just Warzone. I've went through all that stuff, so it looks like it looks like I'm a better player than you. And like you know, I think you've only done the Warzone part, but like you go and look at our KD and like, yeah, it's different.
I remember.
We won't get into the numbers or anything silly like that.
Well, I remember when you said in our last Intellivision episode where you were saying that game, what did you say? You said that it's something along the lines of it makes you just real anxious.
Yeah, I'm scared all the time when I'm playing it, and I know like that's not good for me or my performance, but yeah, I don't know. I think
it's a competitive game, bro.
Yeah, it was one of those times, like I think like somewhere I let my mouth write a check that my ass couldn't cash. Like, I think when we first started playing, like
never heard that.
I was talking.
What was that again? Can you say that one more time?
I let my I think my football shout out to my football coach in high school would say, "Boy, you let your mouth write a check that your ass can't cash."
I love that. Gosh, yeah. I'm gonna use that every opportunity.
Remember, like we first started playing Warzone, I was talking shit. Like, you know, the game said that it was 1v1 me, bro. Like
pull up
something I'd heard on TikTok or something.
Jeez, Chuck T. Yeah,
I think you were giving me shit for standing in that tower by TV station or something.
Like, oh, that's right. I remember that, dude. You just
and
love
after playing for a while. I was like, boy, I'm gonna regret saying that to Ovox.
Well, it's just hard, you know. It's hard to post up like that in that kind of a game. You know, there's people actively looking for snipers. And you're just standing out at the top of that tower. Yeah. Like, I wonder if there's a sniper up there. Oh, there it is.
Oh, no, I got it.
All of a sudden, I see, you know, ChukTomahawk's body falling out of the tower.
Yeah.
He got shot.
Yeah. I eventually learned, you know, you got to kind of be rotating with your squad, you know, and that kind of thing. You can't be static like that. But
yeah, in Warzone, yeah.
Yeah, that didn't stop me from talking shit. Like, you know,
hey, you got to talk it, man. Fake it till you make it. Gee. If anyone asks, I'll be like, no, watch out, man. ChukTomahawk, you know.
Yeah, he's up in that tower. Don't you get near that thing. Like
100% KD rate, man. You don't want to be fucking with that.
You are not going to be on the roof of TV station. He's got you.
Yeah, well, it looks like no one's going to be on the roof of TV station anymore. They switched the maps, but I miss that map.
Sad. Yeah,
I really miss that map.
When I'm in that helicopter, I just look down there and I don't know where to land. I'm like, where's the TV station?
Yeah. Gosh. So, microtransactions. Basically, what's up with the microtransactions in contrast with cheat codes and stuff? Well, basically, they're kind of just selling cheats, really. Like, if let's say a cheat enabled you to get a bunch of money in the game that enabled you to unlock certain stuff. Well, they're saying, okay, let's remove the language from the coding that is a cheat, and we'll just add it into the game as something that we can sell to them.
Yeah.
So it's basically the newest version of the Nintendo magazines and the Nintendo Powers and the tips and tricks, and this is just the latest version. That's really what that is.
Yeah, can't blame them here. I mean, you know, these days especially too, as these games get more and more complex, like they got a lot of development. I'm almost like seeing an analogy with sort of your pharmaceutical type thing where, you know, there's tons of research and development that goes into this, and yeah, we're kind of charging a lot for this medicine when we get it out there, but we developed 10 other medicines that didn't make it. You know, we made, you know, like video games that didn't work out or you know, it kind of failed beta testing to the point that we just gave up, or, you know, and they eat those dollars. So when they get a hit, they're going to keep on cashing in as long as they can, I think.
Yeah. Let's see here. It says, it changes from country to country, but in some places you can get in huge trouble for cheating in multiplayer games. Usually the consequences are relatively minor, like being banned from a gaming community or being branded as a cheater, which is kind of like what we see a lot here in the Americas. When I say the Americas, obviously I mean the U.S., Canada, Mexico, basically on this side of the planet. Like being banned from gaming community, but other places have really cracked down. In June of 2014, a few gamers in Japan were prosecuted in court for using and potentially distributing cheats in the first-person shooter known as Sudden Attack. As online gaming becomes bigger and more regulated, cheating in games is significantly on the rise, and it could reach a breaking point where some gamers are totally ruined because of a rampant cheating. This is something that we've experienced. It's difficult to actually prosecute cheaters in the real world, but developers are trying to change that. Man.
Yeah.
Ain't that the truth?
Yeah, I mean, I can see where they're coming from, you know, to some degree, especially when it sort of ruins the experience. You know, I think that's one of the questions that comes up here. Like, you know, is this sort of an innocent expanding of the world of video games, or, you know, does it kind of like spoil the product, you know, that you paid your money for?
I think in majority it spoils. It doesn't spoil it, but it complicates the gameplay, you know, especially in a multiplayer online scenario. But then, you know, few and far between. Every now and then you're going to run into someone, and I'm not saying this makes it okay by any means. I'm not saying that. I do not I'm not pro cheating in any way, shape, or form. But I remember we were talking before we hit record that I think you read an article or something like that of some feller that was like, "Hey, you know what? I don't have time to get good."
Yeah. You run across like I think Sally is a dog and Tim the Tap Man are a couple guys I follow on TikTok, and occasionally one of the things they're doing lately is they'll maybe get killed by someone, and they'll continue to watch that. You know, how like you kind of start spectating the person that killed you, and you know, they're actually having success, like just commenting on other people's games. It can be funny, and yeah, I think that's kind of a they ended up like having a guy that was cheating and kind of just asked him to come in for an interview, and that's what he said. He said that, you know, I've got a full-time job. Like, I just, you know, I can't really compete with how competitive it's got here. So, you know, I paid the money for these cheats so I can compete. And I just don't have time to get good. And that was sort of his justification.
You know what that justification sounds to me like? Bunch of trash. You can't justify that. You know, that's, I'm glad, you know, hey, you got a full-time job? That's good, man. That's how it's important to have a full-time job. We got to make that paper, baby. But I don't know if that's an excuse for, you know, cheating, you know. I mean, that's why there's rankings, you know. Supposedly you should be in ranked levels where you're not competing against people that are freaking savages.
Yeah. You do hear people like gaming the system somehow to get those easier lobbies, like even the good players, and maybe he got a little dose of that at times.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, as I understand it, it's supposed to put you against people sort of in a tier that there'll be some people better than you, and then there'll be some new players, like just kind of a good little mix for you. And that's one of the things I think Warzone has gotten right at times. But
Yeah.
but yeah, in his estimate, it was worth the coin.
All right, I want to read one more little chunk here, and then we should bust out some concluders, final thoughts, ending comments, all that jive. Though it's certainly frowned upon by some players and developers, altering code is not technically illegal in the United States. Please, listeners, do not take that and run with it. It says, as long as you actually own the game you're playing, the Digital Millennium Copyright Act made it so owners of a game or any other digital software can modify it however they like, even if those modifications are technically cheating. Game developers have made several attempts to garner exemptions for certain game genres like MMOs, as it can feel like hackers break the game for everybody. However, as of 2018, there hasn't been any major movement. So, it's important to mention the legality side of that, I suppose, as an ending comment. It's not illegal, but, if you're cheating... I was going to say a bad word, but I'll save it.
Yeah.
I was going to say.
Oh, no. Look deep in your soul.
Goose Fraba. You have been killed. Goose Fraba. Let me spectate this guy. God, he's cheating.
Yeah. I feel like for myself, I want to go right up against like what is sort of socially acceptable. Like if my monitor allows me to put a crosshair up, that's going to help my aiming a little bit. Like I'm probably going to go there. But
there's nothing wrong
as
with
far
that.
as something that's clearly illegal, and not fair to the other players that I'm playing against, yeah, I'm going to stop right there. I mean, unless we all go there, and it's known.
Yeah, and it's not
that we're using that.
Yeah, and we're not impacting other folks' gaming experience. See, I think what you do when like using a crosshair overlay is 100% fine, because that's something that your monitor comes with. You're not changing the coding of the game. You're not using another program that alters the mechanics of the game. You're simply turning on an overlay that's going to make your aiming better, which is actually something that many pro YouTuber gamers advise. They recommend doing that to practice for first-person shooter games. So, Hey, you're using that little crosshair overlay, more power to you, baby.
Yeah.
You should get it tattooed on your neck.
Give me some contacts with crosshairs in them.
KD on one side and then crosshairs on the other.
Yeah, for life. Yeah.
Get wrecked. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. So I do feel like, there's kind of a line there. And I think we all know when we see it. Like you can't like define it exactly, but we know it. You know it. Like, I think used to have a boss that would ask me if I could pass the red face test when I was trying to get away with something at work, and he had something there.
That must have been hard, though. Like, well, sir, I've just been fighting this freaking forest fire, and my face is a little red from the heat.
That's the black face test. Yeah, yeah. Dust and dirt on your face, but yeah. Yeah, he had a point though. It's like like
it's like porn. You know it when you see it.
Yeah, exactly. You can't define it, but you know it when you see it. It's like,
it's like, that guy's using aimbot. That guy's using some sort of cheat that allows him to mesh through the walls, or that's a big issue in
Arc. You saw
Arc.
those videos like where famous streamers get busted cheating, like what? How? Talk about the red face test.
Gosh, man, some of them on freaking on some of the e-sports, like huge competition. Like there's a couple that got in a lot of trouble live, like in the moment.
Yeah.
Banned.
I do. I mean, it's a wonder they get out of there alive. Like, I mean, imagine
a bunch of little nerds chasing you down out of the building.
Yeah, that have also got just as much stress and everything at risk that you did, that made you feel like you should do that. And you know, if you'd have got away with it, you would have took, you know, you'd eat their cornbread. Like,
damn, cornbread.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Gosh. Yeah, there, you know, listeners, there's a bunch of really cool videos on the Game Ranks channel on YouTube. I mean, you'll find it. It's one of my favorite channels to go for, you know, top 10 lists, top 5 lists, game news and stuff. Really great videos. And if you just type in Game Ranks cheats, they'll, you know, 4 or 5, maybe 6 videos will pop up, which is some cool cheat code videos and history and people that have gotten caught, cheat codes that were discovered, stuff like that. The ones of people getting caught are kind of funny because they actually mentioned those kids from Japan that got prosecuted, man. And there's like, they show a picture of them all and they're all just like, oh, so scared. Poor kids, man. You imagine going to court for playing a video game? Like, Japanese judge is screaming at you in Japanese. That scared the shit out of me,
going to
bro.
court. Imagine when you got to jail and they're like, "What are you in for, son?"
Oh my God. All right, pull your pants down.
It's like, you might as well just go in there with no pants.
No pants cheat.
Yeah, you're probably not going to cheat when you get out of there, like ever again.
Oh gosh. Yeah, that's really when you need that no clipping cheat turned on. You just clip your ass out of that prison, boy. I'm gonna clip my ass right out of here. Peace.
Yeah, no kidding.
All right, well,
Yeah.
you got anything else for me, Chuck Tomahawk? Anything else for the
I
listeners?
think that's it. You know, just like I just like to frame up the fact, you know, that we're kind of looking at things from old and new perspectives, and you know, the kind of where these initial cheat codes developed into sort of the, you know, you have a free to play game today that we're doing microtransactions in. You know, I think like seeing that link to the past is kind of neat to me, and just want to point that out again.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, shoot, I don't have really anything else, and I got to jump out of here kind of in a quick rush. So, hey, if you like the episode, have any comments, any tips or tricks for us, advice, recommendations, anything like that, or if you just want to hit us up and say hello, you can email us at ovoxandchuk@gmail.com. That is ovoxandchuk@gmail.com. We love you. And Chuck Tomahawk, I love you, man.
Love you too, brother. Peace out.
Peace out. Hasta pronto, hermano.